Hello everybody, it's Sarah and welcome to day 23 of Bookmas. And today we're gonna talk books, and while we do that we're also gonna bake some cookies because I'm still in Christmas stress and I don't have time to just spend the time filming extra and then spend the time extra of baking cookies. And I thought it's just a nice little activity to just ramble, talk and bake some cookies. And today's video is not gonna be the video I had originally planned because that was my final thoughts on the Poppy War series. But gotta be honest, pre-Christmas stress is in my head too much right now to spend any time at all thinking up coherent thoughts for a discussion type video. So we are gonna get that video in 2021, and what we're gonna do today instead is talk about my favorite and least favorite series of 2020. This is a tag that was created by Mara from Books Like Whoa, and she kind of created this as an annual yearly tag to talk about all those sequels and those series that quite often get lost in the frenzy of talking about our best and worst books, which I do understand. I kind of get that feeling a lot always because I often feel like, this is a favorite series of mine. Why should I especially talk about this entry in this series within my best and worst series video, not series video, best and worst books video. And so while you might see some books that I'm going to talk about in this video also in my best and worst videos, I still wanted to just shine a spotlight on my favorite series, or books and series that I've read in 2020. And I'm trying really hard to get this. I pre-made the dough and the dough has gotten a little bit soft today. I don't know why. It's a little too soft, and so it's like a pain to get the cookies off of the roll out sheet and onto the baking sheet. But anyway, Books Like Whoa and also her video will be linked down below, and I have the questions here, so I'm gonna read them off and then I'm gonna answer them while baking some cookies, because why not? And the first question is, what is the best series that you caught up with this year that is still a work in progress? And I mean, I don't know, does it count as a series that I have caught up to if it's a series that I have always been caught up on, basically? But definitely the Stormlight Archive. I mean, I have talked about this series a lot already. It's basically my second favorite series, or favorite series depending on how you count it or how you look at it, of all time. But then another series that I really loved that I caught up to this year was the Invisible Library series by Genevieve Cogman, which is a kind of steampunk, urban fantasy, historical fantasy, alternate universes, sci-fi elements style series, and it's just a lot of fun. And I had only read, I think, book 1 before this year, maybe book 2, I'm not sure. But I caught up to it in any case this year and was able to read the newest release right away, and I really enjoyed it. But I gotta be honest, probably the proper answer for this question, which is a series that I read for the first time this year and that I caught up to, although there's only 2 books so it wasn't that hard to catch up to, is The Band by Nicholas Ames, with Kings of the Wild as well as Bloody Rose. I absolutely loved both of the books in the series, and it's probably also going to be an answer for a later question in this tag, but it's such a great series. It's such a fun ride, but there's also so much emotional stuff in that series. I talked about it recently. I finished Bloody Rose last week, a few days ago, and I was sobbing by the end and just crying because I was so sad and it was so emotional. But yeah, just go and read that duology so far. I mean, series. I don't know how many books there's gonna be. It's kind of companion books with some connections between them, but yeah, just beautiful and amazing. Question number 2, what is the best work in progress series that you are still catching up with? And I couldn't tell you any off the top of my head, to be honest. And I mean, I did do Like, I did film all of my unfinished series on my shelves video yesterday, so they're all pretty fresh on my mind. But I gotta be honest, the only series I can think of that I read a book of this year and that is still not finished is the Books of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft. But I really didn't enjoy that book, so, you know, I'm not sure if it counts, if it's literally the only option, and I didn't enjoy it as a book, so, you know, I think I'm gonna skip this question. Question number 3, what was your favorite first book in a series this year? And I'm just gonna go with the same answer as Books Like Woe, because Black Sun, hands down, was the best first book I read this year. Like, it was so good, it set up the world so well. It didn't set up the plot of the entire series that much, but it still had a coherent plot in and of itself that was really engaging and really interesting. And I just want to know what's gonna happen so bad. So bad. But I'm gonna have a review of that book up soon, because I had a lot to talk about when it came to that book, because it was just so good. It was so good. I can so highly recommend everyone go and read this book. Like, no matter if you enjoy fantasy or not, just go and read this book, because it's a masterpiece. Question number 4, what is a first book in a series you read this year that you think should have just been a standalone and not a series? And I'm gonna cheat a little bit with that question, because I didn't read the first book this year, I read the second book. And the second book made me think that the first book that I read last year, 2019, should have definitely been a standalone. And that second book that made me think that about the first book was A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Camera, which is the second book in the Cursebreaker series. I just really didn't like this book. I thought the characterization of all the characters compared to book 1 was completely off. And like, absolutely made no sense. The decisions, the way they acted made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And like, it was a good book if you don't consider everything that happened in the first book and how the characters acted in the first book. But yeah, aside from that, I just didn't like it whatsoever at all. So yeah, A Curse So Dark and Lonely should have definitely stayed a standalone. Still gonna read the third book though. Question number 5, what is your most overhyped series of the year? And I mean, I don't know if it counts necessarily, because I feel like the hype is more surrounding the video game than really the book series, and I have seen a lot of criticism of the book series as well, but definitely The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. I mean, I did really enjoy the short story collections, but yeah, the main series just had an overall, like, I really couldn't get into the writing style. It was absolutely horrible, in my opinion. I just didn't like the writing style whatsoever. And then also the plot was absolutely unimportant. The only thing I can say that actually is accurate to what I've heard of the series of being great is the characters. But then again, are the characters really great if you don't really spend any time with the characters whatsoever during the actual books? Because at least 50% of the book, we spend the time with characters that appear for 1 or 2 chapters and then never again. So, you know, does that really count then, that the characters is great? Is it really that important? But yeah, that series I absolutely did not enjoy, and I actually have a whole series review of it up on my channel, which I will leave linked down below and also in the corner up there. Question number 6, what is a series that you DNF this year? And I would go with the Blood and Honey, Serpent and Dove, that's it. Serpent and Dove series by Shelby Mahurin. I did think last year, or maybe at the beginning of the year, that I might pick up Blood and Honey, which came out in September, I think. But then when that book came out, I was already lukewarm on reading it. And when that book came out, the reviews were absolutely horrible. And so I decided, you know what? I'm just not gonna read that series, not gonna continue on with that series. Question number 7, what was your favorite series finale of this year? And I mean, I don't feel like I read that many proper series finales this year, or did I? I guess I did. I mean, I finished a lot of series, but I feel like a lot of them were more like second book in a duology, so it doesn't really feel like a series finale, because a lot of times like there wasn't that much of a coherent plot arc, but more of 2 books that just, you know, were a continuation of the plot of the first one. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, so I'm not sure if I have a favorite series finale. I mean, The Lord of the Rings is probably one of them. I finally finished that series and I absolutely love the 3rd book. I'm not sure if it's necessarily the best ending ever, because I mean, there are a lot of endings and it does take a long time. I think you still have a third of the book left or something by the time you come to the end, by the time Sauron is defeated. But then again, it makes more sense that you would have such a long ending when you consider that all 3 books were supposed to be one book and like one story, one book, not really a trilogy. So I guess in that sense, it would make sense that there's such a long ending. But that was definitely one of the series finales that I enjoyed the most reading. But otherwise, the big surprise of the year, The Burning God. I really didn't think I would enjoy the last book as much as I did, considering how much I shed on the first 2 books, and considering that I also read The Dragon Republic this year and I really didn't enjoy it all that much. But overall, I think the ending of The Burning God, while not satisfying, is the perfect ending to that series. And if you have read The Burning God and want to know what I mean by that, I did recently upload my reading vlog of that book, so that is also linked down below. But yeah, I just think that that series ended perfectly for what it was, and I think that even though the ending is perfect, I still think that it's a bold decision on the side of R.F. Kuang to end the series the way she did it, because I don't think a lot of people, or I think a lot of people might not realize how perfect that ending actually is for that series. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with The Burning God. Question number 8, what was the biggest cliffhanger you had in a series this year? And I actually do not know because yeah, I don't think there were any real cliffhangers this year in any series. I mean, maybe Black Sun had, I think that was quite an open ending. There was a lot of stuff that happened at the very end and we didn't really get a lot of answers, but that's kind of what I want from a first book. I don't want all the answers yet. But yeah, aside from that, I didn't have that many cliffhangers. Question number 9, what was your favorite spin-off series this year? And I don't know. I don't read many spin-off series. I mean, I guess maybe the Stormlight Archive could be seen as a spin-off series within the Cosmere, you know, because they're all part of the same big universe. Also, I guess aside from that, the only spin-off series I read so far this year are Cassandra Clare series, so whatever series she writes within the Shadowhunters universe. I did enjoy Chain of Iron, which was the first book in the last hours, quite a bit. But aside from that, I'm currently reading The Lost Book of the Wife, which is the second book in the Eldest Curses, which of course is also a spin-off. But I gotta say, so far I'm not enjoying it that much. So yeah, I think that's it. That's about it for spin-off series. And I actually think I'm gonna answer the rest of the questions later when I have all my cookies baked, because these are like 2-part cookies where you put them together with jam, and when I'm doing that I'll answer the rest of the questions. So the first batch of cookies is done, so I can now match them up with some jam and continue answering questions. I think we were at question number 10, right? Yeah. Question number 10, what is your most anticipated next book in a series that you read this year that will come out next year? And I don't have any of those because I don't read arcs, so don't have any of those. What is your most anticipated series to catch up with next year based on what you read in that series this year? And I don't know. Like, because Black Sun, there hasn't been a sequel announced yet, as far as I know. So I don't know if that will come out in 2021. Although, no, actually, I do know. I'm really excited to finish the Crown of Feathers trilogy, the last book, which I think is Wings of Shadow, which first of all has a beautiful cover, is gonna come out in July. And I am very much anticipating that book. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that series ends. Question number 12. What is your favorite series you finished this year? And that is definitely the Dreamblood duology by N.K. Jemisin. That series is just so good. It is so good. It is so amazing. I read the entirety, so both books. This year, I really enjoyed both books. I have a review of that series up on my channel, so go and check that out. I will leave it linked down below if you're interested in picking up this series. And like, if you are like me and the 5th season wasn't exactly your cup of tea, at least the first time you read it, I would still highly recommend checking out the Dreamblood duology because, yeah, it's just so good, especially the second book. The second book is just amazing. Question number 13. What is your favorite episodic series of the year? And like, I'm not exactly sure what is meant with that, but I would guess like series where each book is its own finished story, kind of like mystery series a lot of times. But the series that I would go with is, hands down, you probably already guessed it, the Band series by Nicholas Ames. I enjoyed that series so much, and I won't talk about it again because I did already talk about it when I talked about my favorite series of the year. But yeah, the Band is just amazing, and it's one of the few fantasy series that is not like a series as in there's a whole overarching plot line, but where each book pretty much is its own contained story, and there are certain elements that do span the series. Like, for example, in the second book, one of the main characters is the daughter of one of the main characters from the first book, but the stories themselves don't have that much to do with each other. So the second batch of the cookies was done. But anyway, what I wanted to say was that I would still recommend you read the series in order, obviously, because there are a few elements that you won't understand otherwise. Question number 14. What is a series that you finally bailed on after holding onto it for a long time? And I would say The Soldier's Son by Robin Hobb. I mean, I didn't hold on to it, but I've owned the series for like multiple years now, I think 5 years in total. And I did read the first book in 2019, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think in 2019. And I wasn't the biggest fan, but I still wanted to finish the series. And then I started the second book this year. And I was just like, you know what? I don't wanna. And I DNF'd the book, and I think I just bailed on Robin Hobb as a whole, because especially her first person narration books just, you know, they aren't for me. And even in her other series that I've read, which was The Life Ship Traders, which was in the first person narration and just following one male character, even that series, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I mean, I was a fan of the series, but there's like certain elements like the ending that I had really big issues with as well. Question number 15. What is the series you were most surprised that you liked this year? And I mean, kind of series, but also more just book, which then led to the series as a whole. But definitely the Poppy War. Or more likely The Burning God, because for those of you who have been on my channel for some time, you will know that I am not the biggest fan of The Poppy War, that it's one of the few books that I've only given 1 star, and also The Dragon Republic, which I read this year, I found mostly dull and boring. I didn't actively have a problem with a lot of the things in that book like I did with The Poppy War, but I really didn't enjoy it. But yeah, The Burning God just really surprised me as a whole, and I enjoyed it a lot. And also, The Burning God led to me, like, I still don't like the Poppy War, and I still don't like the Dragon Republic, and I still didn't change my opinions on them. But I do think that as a whole, the series is a good series and is worth it, even if two of the books in the series are books that I absolutely don't like. I don't know how to explain it, it's really weird, but yeah, so The Poppy War. What is a series that you meant to catch up with or finish this year that you didn't? And I mean, there's only one obvious question, because one of my big goals for 2020 was to finish the Wheel of Time series, because I only had 12 books left. I had 3 books in the series read already, and I had 12 books left to read. However, I did not manage to do that because there were multiple months that I did not read a book in the Wheel of Time, and so now I have 4 books left to read, maybe 3 if I can still finish Knife of Dreams in 2020. But yeah, sadly I was not able to finish the Wheel of Time series. It would have been very nice to have that series in 2020 as a series that I can just check off of my list. And then lastly, question number 17 is going to be a pretty short answer because I've talked about this a bit already. But question number 17 is, what is a series you finished this year that you think is greater than the sum of its parts? And I mean, I talked about it already, but The Poppy War, I think, is greater than the sum of its parts. Obviously, like, as a series as a whole, I think I would actually give it 4 stars, but I still wouldn't give book 1 or 2 more than 2 stars. So, you know, it's just fun how that happens sometimes, isn't it? But yeah, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. All the other videos that I did for Bookmas are in the playlist that is linked down below, so if you've missed any, go and check that out. All the links to my social media are also in the description box down below, so go and check those out as well. All the links to my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, where we read 1 adult high fantasy book written by a woman per month, are also linked down below, so go and check those out as well. And yeah, with that said, I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!
So here they are. Here are the finished cookies, which, like with these, it's always so depressing because you feel like you're making a lot, but then obviously you gotta have 2 per 1 cookie, so that just puts it in half. But yeah, here they are and they're done, and I'm really happy with them, and I'm sure they'll taste amazing.